Discover how a maid's daughter touched a billionaire's heart, revealing life-changing kindness. In the heart of Maplewood, the warm glow of the diner was a refuge from the chill of reality. Emma, a 22-year-old waitress, moved like a ray of sunshine through the bustling room, her infectious smile brightening the day of every customer. Day in and day out, she rose before dawn, ready to tackle the world armed with her cheerful demeanor and a determination only the daughter of a hard-working maid could possess. With 2 younger siblings under her care, Emma juggled responsibilities and dreams. She wanted to be a nurse. She wanted to help her family thrive, not just survive. As she poured coffee for her regulars, the soft clattering of dishes and casual laughter around her formed a symphony of life. But one day, as the sun spilled gold into the diner, a new face caught her eye. Ethan, a billionaire dressed in designer clothes that could have suffocated him with their opulence, sat silently in a corner booth. Despite the facade of wealth, Emma could sense the loneliness that clung to him like a heavy cloak. He was isolated under the weight of his corporate empire, while the world around him buzzed with genuine connections. "I'll have the specials, please." A cheerful voice broke the silence. Emma turned, launching into her routine with an effortless charm as she took Ethan's order. Their conversations blossomed from small talk into deeper exchanges, where laughter danced through the air. He shared tales of boardrooms and pressure, and in return, she told him about her dream of nursing and the struggles of her community. Emma's laughter was the sunlight in his gloom, and her stories felt like a breath of fresh air, a reminder of friendship untainted by transactions. But as her heart began to thread a bond with Ethan, the ground beneath them trembled with harsh reality. Word spread that he planned to build a luxurious resort, threatening the very diner that had become Emma's lifeline. A wave of panic rushed through her, rippling into anger. How could he not see the destruction his plans would bring to her home? The laughter in the diner turned into hushed whispers as her community's fears mounted. Before she could gather her thoughts, Ethan approached, offering a financial lifeline to save the diner. The hollow sound of his generosity echoed. "Emma," he said, his eyes alight with good intentions, "I can help. Just say the word." But in that moment, she felt a stirring fire in her gut. Money couldn't buy the smiles of the regulars she served, or the laughter shared over meals. "Ethan," she said, her heart pounding and her voice steady, "it's not just about saving this diner. You don't understand what it means to us, the people you want to action away with your grand plans." Laughter faded around them as heads turned to listen. "Each life here matters, and it's not something you can solve with dollars. It's about our stories, our community. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Ethan's brow furrowed, realization dawning on him as the weight of her words sank in. But just then, another crisis arose. News of a town council decision looming over the diner like a storm cloud, leaving Emma's heart racing. Would Ethan stand in the way, or could their strange friendship ignite real change? In that moment of uncertainty, they hovered on the edge of transformation, both of them caught in a tussle between privilege and resilience. Which path would they choose as their lives intertwined, with hearts heavy and hope flickering like the neon lights above? The diner felt electric. Emma stood at the counter, her heart thudding heavily against her chest. She had never imagined that a simple encounter with a billionaire would lead to this fear swirling through the air like dark smoke. Ethan stared at her, grappling with the reality she had just laid bare. The moment hung thick and uncertain, tugging at the threads of fate that bound their lives. "I had no idea." Ethan's voice trailed off, shaking with the weight of his disbelief. He looked around the diner, noticing today's special was written in chalk on the board, a simple reminder of the warmth that filled these walls. "I only saw numbers," he continued, more to himself than to her. I didn't think Emma leaned in, her voice softening. It's easy to overlook what you don't see every day. But this diner, it's not just a building. It's our home. Her eyes searched his as if trying to awaken the part of him that hadn't been consumed by endless profits and board meetings. Ethan, it's families sharing meals, kids laughing, it's life. An awkward silence followed, broken only by the clinking of silverware from the kitchen and distant chatter from the booths. Emma felt the fiery determination rise again within her. She didn't want to lose the diner, but she didn't want to lose a potential friend either. You have a choice, she said, her voice firm yet sincere. You can choose to make a difference. Not just with money, but with your actions. Ethan took a deep breath, the contours of his face tightening with resolve. You're right, Emma. I didn't come in thinking about the impact on people. I need to find a way to help, truly help. He ran a hand through his hair, a sign of the stress clawing at him. But how do I fix something I didn't realize was broken? Start by listening. Listen to the voices here, Emma suggested, gesturing at the diner around them. Talk to the customers, to the workers, to even the kids who come here for milkshakes after school. You'll see what this place is worth. Ethan nodded, slowly absorbing her words. The spark of inspiration was igniting somewhere deep within him. Though he was vastly wealthy, it was apparent he lacked understanding of connection and community. Emma felt a flicker of hope. Could this be the start of something promising, a shift from isolation to empathy? Just then, the door swung open, a gust of crisp air rushing in, heralding a new group of customers. Emma smiled at the regulars, her heart soaring for a moment as warmth flooded back into the diner. But as everyone settled into their booths, she caught sight of Mr. Clayton, the town's mayor, walking unsteadily toward them. His face was drawn tight with worry. Emma, he called, shifting uncomfortably as he approached the counter where Ethan stood. I need to talk to you, both of you. The room fell silent, tension slicing through the chatter like a knife. Emma felt a chill slither up her spine. Was this about the diner? Was their conversation over before it could truly begin? What is it? Emma asked, her voice trembling slightly. I've just received word that the town council is considering a vote tomorrow to allow the resort to move forward, Mr. Clayton breathed, his eyes glancing sharply at Ethan, then back to Emma. If we don't act quickly, it could be too late for both of you. Emma's stomach dropped. She could see the fear creeping into Ethan's expression as well. Tomorrow. Time was running out. What will you do, Ethan? She whispered, her heart beating like a drum. Would he choose the path of privilege again, or rise to protect the story woven into the diner's fabric? Ethan clenched his jaw, determination igniting in his gaze. I'll do whatever it takes, he said quietly, but firmly. This was no longer just about a financial decision, it was about connection, about making a difference. As the weight of the moment pressed upon them, Emma felt hope bloom in her chest. But the question lingered, casting a shadow on the dawn of their newfound partnership. Could they really change the course of the town's future together? And as their eyes locked, a single question hung in the air, heavy with anticipation: what was their next move? Ethan felt the weight of Emma's gaze like a spotlight on a stage. He shifted slightly, the air in the diner humming with anxious energy. Tomorrow then, he said, the determination in his voice masking his uncertainties. We need a plan. Emma nodded, feeling the fire of motivation sparking between them. Yes, we need to gather information. Talk to the customers. Maybe even get a petition going, she suggested, enthusiasm shining through her earlier fear. Mr. Clayton glanced between the two, his expression softening. You have the heart to fight for this place, and that's admirable. But you'll need the voices of the community on your side. It won't just be enough to oppose the resort, you need to show what the diner means to everyone. A few customers at the back of the diner began to murmur amongst themselves, catching wind of the conversation. Emma caught snippets of their thoughts, words of support, memories of childhood visits, and shared meals echoing in those hallowed booths. What if we made a night of it? She suggested, a fleeting thought igniting into something bigger. A community event. Invite everyone to share their stories, what this diner means to them. We could even put up signs around town. Ethan's brow furrowed in contemplation, trying to gauge the practicality of her idea. That could work, but we need to act fast. Let us get the word out right now, Emma replied, her eyes alight with purpose. We can start a social media campaign, use flyers, maybe even invite the local news. As if on cue, the sound of glasses clinking caught their attention. The diner staff, a mix of Emma's friends and family, were gathered behind the counter, eyes wide, riveted by the conversation unfolding before them. Emma turned, an idea solidifying. Let us involve the staff too, we're a team. Everyone here has a stake in this diner. Ethan looked at the crew behind the counter, sensing the heart and warmth that emanated from each one of them. You're right, Emma. Together we can create a movement. But we need to show what's at stake, not just for this diner, but for the entire town. This place thrives because it brings us together. Encouraged, Emma shot him a bright smile, one that had him questioning how he had been blind to this part of life for so long. She threw a glance back to Mr. Clayton. Can we enlist your help to rally the townsfolk? We need support from the council too. Absolutely, I'll help in any way I can. But remember, people need to see real heart, Mr. Clayton replied, his eyes gleaming slightly. Show them why they should care. Why they do care. In the back of the diner, old Mrs. Peterson was putting her arm around a younger couple, recounting a story about her first date in the diner over 60 years ago. Laughter bubbled from the booth, sparking a wave of nostalgia. The warmth enveloped Emma, filling her with hope. Let us get to work, Ethan said, taking a step back, buoyed by the community spirit that began to swirl around them. We'll do this together. The clock ticked loudly in the background, a reminder of their ticking deadline. They had one night to gather voices, memories, and hopes. The diner that had seen countless stories needed its own, a final stand against the threat looming on the horizon. Emma's thoughts raced as they began to formulate plans, lists of potential speakers, places to gather signatures, creative ideas for flyers and posts. But as her mind whirled with truths about their mission, another thought crashed over her like a wave. What if it wasn't just about saving the diner? Ethan, she said, her voice quietening as she turned to him, a deeper question forming. What if we brought this community together, not just to protect what we have, but to build something even better? Something that welcomes everyone? Ethan looked back at her, a flicker of recognition crossing his face. They weren't just fighting for a diner anymore, they were fighting for a future, a collective vision. But as the realization settled between them, they both understood the weight of that dream. Could they really transform their fight into something greater? Would the community rise rooted in timeless connection? As they stood at the threshold of change, the sense of urgency quickened again, pulling them toward the unknown. What would tomorrow reveal? The following morning, the sun broke through the early morning mist, casting a golden hue over the diner that felt almost prophetic. Emma arrived early, her heart fluttering with a mix of excitement and dread. The tables were still, but she could almost hear the laughter of families, the clinking of forks and plates, and the lively chatter that had once filled the space. She set to work, arranging tables and grabbing stacks of flyers from the printer, her hands trembling slightly. Each sheet had the details for the community event plastered in bold letters: share your stories. Save our diner. She wanted to draw them in, not just to protest, but to celebrate all that the diner had been. Ethan walked in moments later, his presence immediately bringing her a sense of calm. I've posted on the diner's social pages, he said, his face lit with enthusiasm. People are responding. Some are excited to come share their memories. I even heard from Leo, he wants to help with the music. Emma felt a bubble of joy rise within her. Music could turn the event into something even more special. That's perfect. Everyone loves Leo's band. His energy will pull people in and keep them engaged. As they continued their preparations, Emma was struck by the vision of families gathering, exchanging happy memories, all sharing the heartbeat of the diner. She pictured old friends embracing, moms recalling sweet first dates, children giggling over giant pancakes, and elderly folks murmuring nostalgic tales. By midday, the diner was buzzing with activity. Staff members moved with purpose, whipping up dishes for the event like they were cooking for a family reunion. She caught sight of Mrs. Peterson chatting with the chef about what recipes he'd use. Each smile, each laugh, felt like a reminder of the diner's legacy. Mr. Clayton arrived breathlessly, waving a clipboard. "I've spoken with several town leaders. Most remember this place fondly. They're eager to sign petitions, and they expressed interest in backing your cause tonight. You have the momentum, Emma." Emma's breath caught. Could it really be happening? Could a spark of hope turn into a wildfire of support? She glanced at Ethan, who nodded encouragingly, his reassurance pushing her forward. With less than an hour to go before the event, a couple of familiar faces started to trickle in. Emma felt the warmth of nostalgia wash over her as she saw the Johnson family enter, escorted by their youngest, who laughed gleefully. The icy worry that had gripped her earlier was thawing, made lighter by the building camaraderie. "Is it time?" she whispered to Ethan, who was helping a couple of servers move chairs. "Almost," he said, tapping his watch. "But I think it's already begun." At that moment, laughing and spirited voices filled the air. People were arriving to claim their seats, eager to share their stories. Emma took a deep breath. There was a nervous energy buzzing within her as she walked to the center of the diner, the chatter drifting into a hush. She grabbed a spoon and tapped it against her glass, a makeshift call to attention. "Thank you all for being here," she began, her voice trembling but steady. "Tonight isn't just about saving our diner. It's about celebrating a home, a history. It's about community." The diner erupted in applause, and a ripple of shared memories filled the room. Emma felt a warm flush of pride. She looked around, seeing faces light up, stories ready to spill forth like a fountain of laughter and love. As the evening rolled on, each tale revealed something deeper, binding them all together in ways she hadn't expected. But in the midst of the laughter and stories, the sound of the front door swung open, cutting through the moment with an unexpected guest. The developer, eyes scanning the laughter-filled room. Emma's heart sank. This was not how it was supposed to go. Not now. Would the presence of the developer crush their spirit or ignite an even stronger resolve? Emma's fingers tightened around the microphone, her eyes narrowing in focus as she prepared to ready her words. "Let's show him why this diner matters," she thought, though doubt gnawed at her edges. Could they rally together for what they believed in? Emma held her breath, watching the developer scan the diner like a hawk. He took a step inside, the door swinging shut behind him with a telltale thud. The laughter that had filled the room moments ago melted into a hesitant murmuring, and a palpable shift infiltrated the air. The developer, Mr. Harris, was not just any outsider. He was the face of the impending change, the one who had come to tear down their cherished diner. Emma's heart raced as she took in his crisp suit and slick-back hair, so different from the warmth surrounding her. "Ladies and gentlemen," he called out, his tone oozing confidence. "I appreciate the turnout. It's wonderful to see so many supporters for something as nostalgic as this diner." His words hung heavy, and Emma felt heat rising in her cheeks. Was he mocking them? "But let's be honest," he continued, icy glances sweeping the crowd. "Change is inevitable. This diner isn't up to today's standards. We have an opportunity to build something much more progressive." Murmurs of discontent rippled through the crowd. Emma felt an urge to leap up, to shout back her passion for the diner, but she swallowed hard, her hands gripping the microphone tighter. She glanced over at Ethan. His brow furrowed, but there was a flicker of encouragement in his eyes. She drew strength from that small spark and stepped forward, her heart pounding against her ribcage. "Mr. Harris," she began firmly but respectfully, meeting his gaze head-on. "This diner isn't just bricks and mortar. It's the centerpiece of our community, a treasure trove of memories and connection. It holds stories of love, laughter, and resilience. You can't put a price on that." The colorful crowd behind her nodded, murmurs of agreement growing stronger. The energy shifted, rising like smoke in a breeze. Each table holds the echoes of people who've come together here. People who've called this place home during the toughest of times and the happiest of celebrations. Emma's voice grew more confident with every word she spoke. "We have built lives around this diner, and we're not just going to let it slip away." Cheers erupted from the audience. Heartbeats quickened, and even the children that had been playing in a corner joined in, tossing little fists into the air. Emma could feel the realization that they were all in this together, united under one cause. "Let us give him a reason to rethink his plans." A familiar voice called out. It was Mr. Clayton, waving his clipboard, and the room filled with enthusiastic applause. Harris's brow furrowed. "I understand how you feel." "No," Emma interrupted, her heart racing again. "You don't understand. You're taking away more than a building. You're taking away a place where families have created their own histories. A place that says, we belong." The crowd roared in support. Emma had ignited something, hope and defiance bound together like an unbreakable thread. As the developer's gaze shifted from Emma to the audience, uncertainty flashed in his eyes for a brief moment. Perhaps the tide was turning. "I know that there's potential for something new," he replied carefully. "But if we're going to move forward together, we need to acknowledge the other side of progress." Emma felt a jolt of anger mixed with fear. What was he going to say next? Just then, the lights flickered overhead, sparking the audience's attention away from Mr. Harris. There was a sudden, unexpected commotion as the back door opened. Heads turned, and a tall figure stepped in, his silhouette cutting through the chatter like a knife. Emma squinted, trying to make out who had just arrived. The crowd hushed, all eyes shifting. The newcomer strolled in with an aura of confidence, his features growing clearer with each step. He scanned the room, a curious look reflecting in his eyes. Emma's heart raced again, but this time, it felt different, exciting, full of promise. Who could this be? And how would he shape this night of revelations? As he approached, everyone felt the energy thrum with anticipation. What did he have to say? Would he add to their fight or stand firmly on the developer's side? The man stepped into the circle of light, revealing tousled hair and a genuine smile that broke through the tension in the room. Emma felt her heart leap. He looked familiar, but it took a second to place him. It was Greg, the grocery store owner's son, back from college. She had known him when they were kids, running through the streets of their little town, dreaming about the future. "Hey, everyone!" Greg called out, his voice smooth and warm. "Sorry for the interruption. I just got back in town and heard about the meeting. I wanted to add my support." An unexpected cheer rippled through the crowd as they recognized him. The vibe shifted, an undercurrent of hope fueling the energy. "What is going on here?" Greg continued, glancing at Mr. Harris. "I'm hearing grumblings about the diner's fate. Is it really true you want to change this place?" Mr. Harris straightened slightly, the smug confidence returning to his stance. "Yes, Greg. I believe progress is essential for our community. This diner, while charming, doesn't meet modern standards." Greg raised an eyebrow, looking around at the familiar faces in the diner. "But you're not just talking about a building. You're talking about history, memories, community. This diner means a lot to us." A murmur of agreement spread through the crowd at Greg's words. Emma felt the hope swell within her again, like a cleansing tide. "Did you know our parents came here for their first dates?" Greg continued, his voice growing stronger. This diner has been a backdrop for so many moments, from graduation parties to baby showers. I remember the smell of the fries cooking while my mom and I would share stories at that corner table. He pointed to the very booth he mentioned, laughter flickering among the audience as little moments began to surface. Look, Mr. Harris, Greg said, turning to the developer, I get it. You see potential in a new build, but have you ever thought about blending the old with the new? Why not create a space that honors these memories instead of wiping them away? Emma watched Mr. Harris, his face shifting between annoyance and contemplation. There was a pause, both sides holding their breath. Then a woman from the back called out, her voice breaking through the silence. But that's what the diner is, Greg. It's part of our lives. The crowd erupted, voices overlapping as they all chipped in with their memories: first kisses, family gatherings, the celebration of life's milestones. Emma felt warmth flood through the room, a connection so raw and powerful that it seemed almost electric. This is not just a building, she added, her heart racing with newfound courage. We're not here just for a diner, we're here because of our stories, our lives. You can't erase that. It's what makes us who we are. Mr. Harris shifted on his feet, uncharacteristically quiet. Maybe they were getting through to him, but before he could respond, a loud crash interrupted the moment. The jarring sound of a chair falling echoed through the diner. Emma jumped, the rhythm of the scene split wide open with chaos. Everyone turned to see a man standing at the entrance, the door still swaying from where he had barged in. His expression was frantic, eyes wide with urgency. I need to speak to you all. He shouted over the noise. Emma's heart raced as she exchanged glances with Ethan. Who was this man, and what news was so important that it would interrupt their moment of unity? And then, in a room filled with conflicting emotions and potential change, one question rang clear: what could he possibly say that would alter everything they thought they knew? The room went silent, the energy shifting from hope to confusion. The man at the door was scruffy, his clothes wrinkled and hair unkempt, but it was the desperation in his eyes that caught Emma's attention. She felt an instinct to step forward, to somehow reassure him that everything would be okay, whatever the news was. What do you need to tell us? Greg asked, stepping closer, the supportive tone still firmly intact. The man swallowed hard, hands trembling slightly as he took a deep breath. My name is Jake. I know you're fighting for the diner. But there's something you should know. It's about Mr. Harris and the development plan. Emma felt her chest tighten. What did this stranger mean? Had he come to make things worse? A flicker of unease rippled through the crowd. Mr. Harris's jaw clenched, his eyes narrowing. What do you mean, Jake? He asked, his voice steady though laced with warning. Ignoring the developer's threat, Jake continued, I used to work for a company close to the project. I saw the plans. They're not just about the diner, they're about tearing down parts of the town that matter. 6 other buildings, historical sites, places just like this diner that hold meaning for people. Those plans are already in motion. Gasps echoed across the diner. Emma's heart sank, crushed under the weight of an impending doom. Was it true? Were they about to lose more than just the diner? I couldn't keep quiet. This isn't just about progress, it's about destroying the community we grew up in. Jake's voice cracked, filled with passion and fear. Emma glanced around the room. The faces she saw were filled with concern, shock mingling with fury. Some shook their heads, others murmured amongst themselves, a flurry of outrage at the implications of Jake's words. What do we do? Ethan asked, his brow furrowed deeply. We have to fight back. Okay, Greg said, trying to maintain a semblance of control. Let us not panic. We can organize, spread the word. If we band together, perhaps we can make enough noise to change the developer's mind. But the underlying worry pulsed like a drumbeat through the room. Emma could feel it too. The memories buried in the walls of the diner were tied to more than just this place, they resonated through the history of the entire town. What if it's too late? What if they've already set things in motion? A voice called from the back. Jake looked around, his expression softening slightly. I know it seems bleak. But if you fight back, if you take this to the community, city council, you can make a difference. Emma felt the flicker of hope fight against the growing despair. They may be few in number, facing off against big plans and local government, but the strength of community hung thick in the air. Still, uncertainty danced in her thoughts. Was it enough? Did they have the power to stand up to such a formidable force? Listen, Greg said, raising his voice to regain attention. We've got history on our side. We have a story to tell that will resonate with everyone. We can't back down now. If we don't fight for this diner, we fight against everything that brought us together. The crowd murmured in agreement, finding strength in unity. Emma looked at Jake, seeing his determination matched her own. Let us form a plan. We need to rally everyone, dig deep into our connections. This is just the beginning, she said, feeling the resolve solidify within her. But her pulse quickened as she pondered the road ahead. Would their efforts resonate in a world so dominated by progress? Could they truly change anything? Then the thought struck her hard. What if they weren't just fighting for a diner, but for the soul of their community? Jake's eyes met hers, and in that moment, she realized they were all in this together. The stakes were higher than she had ever anticipated. As the room buzzed with newfound energy, Emma felt the weight of the fight settle onto her shoulders. What's the first step? Jake inquired, adding to the electric atmosphere of determination, and as Emma took a deep breath, ready to launch into action, one haunting line echoed in her mind: could they really save everything that mattered? The diner hummed with anticipation, voices overlapping as Emma stood in the center, feeling both the adrenaline and anxiety pulse through her. Her heart raced. Could they really do this? Uneasiness coursed through her like a chill wind, yet the warmth of solidarity gathered around her bolstered her spirit. All right, listen up. Emma started, raising her voice to direct attention back to her. We need to gather everyone in the community. We can host a meeting, maybe at the park. Let us spread the word on social media and put up flyers. Everyone deserves to know what's happening. That's a great idea, Greg added, nodding fervently. Stories have power. We should share our memories of the diner. Maybe even have a storytelling night. Show what this place really means to us. Jake stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with newfound hope. We need to enlist local businesses too. If they see how this affects all of us, they might join the fight. Emma glanced around the room, her chest swelling with pride. Seeing so many people come together fueled her resolve. Yes. We can create a coalition. A small group of us can visit the city council and present our case. We can show them how important these buildings are. They're our history. The chatter grew, a swirling mix of ideas flying about the room. Someone called out about creating a petition, while another suggested reaching out to the news station. The energy was infectious. Before long, Emma could barely contain her excitement. They were leaning into something incredible, but as Emma looked around at the determined faces, she couldn't shake the feeling that it would be an uphill battle. The weight of doubt still clung to her. Could a group of ordinary people truly stand up to a large development firm? Would they be enough? Okay, let us break this down, Greg said, his voice grounding. Who wants to help with the petition? Who can manage the social media outreach? And who can tackle organizing the meeting? Hands shot up. Emma noticed faces glowing with enthusiasm, inspired courage poured into the atmosphere. But in the back of her mind, a soft voice whispered. What if it wasn't enough? The thought gnawed at her as she paired individuals off for tasks. She caught Jake's eye, his expression mirroring her own doubts. But there was also determination there. As they broke into groups, Emma felt a flicker of hope bloom, yet her heart sank as she overheard a conversation from the corner of the room. Two older women spoke in hushed tones, shaking their heads. "It's a losing battle," one muttered, heavy with resignation. "Money talks." The grim words reverberated through Emma's thoughts. Was she setting herself and others up for disappointment? But before the weight of doubt could crush her, she realized something vital. If they did nothing, they were guaranteed to lose. She shook her head, standing a little taller. "We can't think that way. We're fighting for our community." "Yeah. We'll show them." A voice cried back, igniting the energy once more. As the meeting progressed, each idea felt like a step forward. They divided tasks, fueled by collective resolve. Emma felt lighter as she jotted down notes for the petition, her pen flying over the paper, fueled by hope, but in the back of her mind, a haunting thought lingered. How far would they go? How much were they willing to sacrifice for this fight? Just as everyone was wrapping up, Emma's phone buzzed relentlessly. It was a message from an unfamiliar number. Heart pounding, she glanced at the screen. It read, "I have information you need about Mr. Harris and the plan. Meet me at the diner tomorrow at noon." Her stomach twisted into a tight knot. What could it possibly be? The room buzzed with chatter around her, yet Emma felt a growing sense of urgency. What was she stepping into? Would this lead them closer to saving their diner or plunge them deeper into danger? "Emma!" Jake called, snapping her back to the moment, his eyes filled with questioning curiosity. "You okay?" She swallowed hard, her heart racing. Could they truly face whatever was coming next? As doubts swirled, she knew one thing for certain: she had to find out. "Yeah, I'm good," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "We have more to fight for than just a diner." As she glanced at the thrumming crowd once more, the words of the message echoed in her mind. What was the truth waiting for her tomorrow? The sun was slow to rise the next morning, casting long shadows through the diner's windows. Emma arrived early, her heart beating fast with each step. The familiar scent of coffee hung in the air, wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. But beneath the warmth lay an undercurrent of anxiety. She took a deep breath, remembering the meeting the night before. The faces of her friends swirled in her mind, each filled with determination. They were counting on her to uncover the truth about Mr. Harris. Emma hoped, against all odds, that the message wasn't just a cruel trap. The bell chimed as she entered, and she glanced around. The diner was empty except for Ava, who was busy wiping down the counters. Her friend looked up, a smile lighting her face. "Hey, you're early. Ready to crack the case?" Ava's voice was cheerful, but Emma noticed a hint of concern in her eyes. "I guess I have to be," Emma said, forcing a smile. "I got a message last night, someone wants to meet at noon." Ava's brow furrowed. "You sure it's a good idea? What if it's someone from the development firm?" "I don't know," Emma admitted, her stomach churning. "But if it's true, we need to find out. I can't shake the feeling that this could really help us." Ava placed her hands on the counter, leaning in. "Just be careful. You know how these things go. If it's dangerous." "I'll be careful, I promise," Emma said, grabbing the coffee pot and pouring them both a cup. "But we have to take risks if we want to fight for the diner." They sat together, savoring the quiet time before the day kicked into gear. Emma's thoughts scurried in every direction like mice. What if this was the break they desperately needed? Or was it a wild chase that would only end in more disappointment? As the diner began to fill up with familiar faces, Emma felt a swell of emotions: love, fear, courage, all commingling. She looked out at them, each person a piece of the quilt that made up their community. How could she risk letting them down? The clock relentlessly ticked closer to noon, and Emma could feel the tension in her chest tightening. Ava caught her eye and raised an eyebrow. "You ready?" "Yeah, I think so," she replied, forcing her voice to stay steady. "But something about this feels important." Like it could change everything. With the last sip of coffee warming her insides, Emma stood. The sun streamed through the windows, illuminating the faces of her community, a reminder of what they stood to lose. They chatted, laughed, and shared stories, but her mind was elsewhere. The message loomed over her, dark and tempting. If she left now, would anyone notice? Would they understand the risk she was taking? Taking a deep breath, she turned towards Ava, who gave her a supportive nod. "You've got this, just remember we're all here for you." Emma clasped her hands together. "I just need to know what I'm up against." As the clock struck noon, a mix of excitement and dread bubbled inside her. She stepped out into the bright daylight, each step toward the diner a choice made for the community she loved so fiercely. The diner stood behind her like a beacon of hope, but as she approached, a sense of foreboding washed over her. Was this meeting the key to saving their cherished place, or would it unleash something far more dangerous? Just as she reached the door, it swung open. A man stepped out, and Emma's breath caught. It was someone she recognized, someone she never expected to see. "Emma," he said, eyes locking onto hers. "I've been waiting for you." Her heart raced. Who was he, and what kind of truth did he hold? Standing before her was Jackson, the lawyer from the firm hired by the town. Emma couldn't quite place his demeanor. Was it friendly or foreboding? He shoved his hands deep into his pockets, shifting nervously. "Thank you for coming," he said, glancing around as if to gauge onlookers. "What is going on?" Emma asked, a mixture of hope and anxiety clawing at her. "I wasn't sure how to reach you without raising eyebrows," he replied, his voice low. "I have information about the development plans. They're not what you think." Emma's heart pounded. "What do you mean?" Jackson sighed, casting a furtive glance at the diner, its vibrant life now juxtaposed with the looming threat of change. "Mr. Harris isn't interested in just the diner. He wants the entire block. And once that happens, they'll push to go after more historical buildings around town." A shiver coursed through Emma. "Wait, you mean?" "We're talking about erasing much of the town's history," Jackson confirmed, his voice firm. "All for the sake of profit. But there's a catch. This isn't just about greed. I found out that there's a loophole in the regulations, one that could shut down the project if proven that the community lacks support for it. You need to galvanize everyone together before the council sessions begin next week. Show them you won't stand for this." The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. This wasn't just a diner anymore, it was a fight for their entire town. "But how?" Emma asked, her voice trembling with emotion. "Use the stories. Use tonight's gathering to document memories. Share them with the council. If they see how connected people are to this place, they won't be able to ignore it." Jackson stepped nearer, his eyes earnest. "I want to help. I can organize legal support if you can rally the community. But it has to be heartfelt. Not just signatures, Emma, real testimonies." As the realization washed over her, a spark ignited inside her. "We can do this with the storytelling night, we can collect even more. This is bigger than I ever thought." He nodded gravely. "But you must move quickly. Once the news breaks that Harris is serious about tearing down properties, everything from the diner to the library, you won't just face negativity, there could be pressure to concede before the council even hears your stories." Taking a deep breath, Emma felt the resolution surge within her. "No. We won't let that happen. We'll show them who we are. We'll show them why they can't take away our history." Jackson smiled slightly, the corners of his mouth turning up with encouragement. "That's the spirit, Emma. You're a powerful force, you know. I'll provide anything you need, call me anytime." She felt a sense of purpose sweep into her being as they parted ways. As she walked back into the diner, the sound of voices echoed in her ears, laughter that felt like comfort. But it was more than that, it was the motivating siren call of change. "Hey, everyone!" Emma shouted, drawing eyes and attention. The conversations hushed as they looked toward her, uncertainty lacing their faces. "We have a new plan." The diners leaned in closer, aware that something substantial had shifted in the air. "Jackson just told me that the fight for our diner is bigger than we thought. It's about saving our town. We need to gather memories tonight and share them. We need your voices." The murmurs of confusion turned into a wave of whispers. Emma's heart raced, but she pressed on, the collective energy of her community fueling each word. "This is our home. Let us celebrate it tonight. Share your stories, everything that has made this place, our community, so special. And we'll bring those stories to the town council. They can't ignore us when we stand together. Together." A voice called, and a chorus of agreement erupted throughout the diner. In that moment, they forged a bond of unwavering unity, the seed of hope blossoming between them. Everyone was ready to fight for their histories, their memories. As the day turned into night, the diner buzzed with the spirit of community. Emma felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude as she watched lives intertwine, stories being immortalized in the tales they shared. Each laugh, each memory, drew them closer, weaving together a tapestry of life in Maplewood. Later, as the storytelling night concluded, laughter and applause echoed in the diner. People hugged one another, tears of joy dancing in their eyes. But amid the smiles, Emma felt a building determination, a fierce resilience kindling in her bones. "Let us take this fire to the council," she said, each word laced with conviction. "Tomorrow, we'll take our fight for our community to their door." With hearts united and the weight of their stories behind them, the path lay clear ahead. Each step they'd take would be a statement of solidarity and hope. Together, they'd reignite the soul of their community. The diner stood tall, not just as a building but as the living heart of Maplewood, thrumming with life again. But more importantly, Emma realized they were not just saving their diner, they were reclaiming their narrative, their spirit, their home. And as the night gave way to dawn, she understood they had already begun to win the most vital battle, the one for connection, understanding, and the heart of all that made them a community. Their path was lit, and they were ready. Now it's on you. Don't wait not even one more second to show your support. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to be part of this journey.